Plant your seed, water and nourish that seed, allow time the space to do its thing, right? And allow growth, and then reap the fruits of your labor, harvest the fruits of your work. That is gardening. But that's also life as well. This summer, I tried gardening for the first time. It has not been a cost efficient gardening. I feel like I spent probably 4 times the amount that I would spend for the produce in the store to start up this garden. But I'm still happy of the fact that I took up gardening this summer and that I gave it a try, because it has really allowed me to really ponder in like the high level view of the process of growth, and not just with food, right? But within yourself when we want to achieve a goal, or you want to develop and become a more rounded self. It's a very similar process. It's not a new thing. Like comparing growth of people to food or fruits and plants, it's not a new concept, but sometimes like you really have to experience something, do something, be in motion with something for it to really click. Think about when you were younger and your parents told you something, you understood it, right? You understood it, you took it in. But it wasn't until later on in life and you grew up and you were like, they were spitting, like something clicked and it like fits with you a little bit more than it did before. And I feel like I had this experience with gardening this summer when it comes to growth, planting food and reaping growth of food, and also within myself and the type of things that I'm striving for. And it's allowed me to really let go a bit and sit back and know that there's a process that takes place. There's a system that takes place regardless of anything else. That if I do the certain steps in the system, more than likely I'm going to get to the certain end goal. I'm going to get some type of growth. And I feel like when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the process of it, it's hard to see it. It's hard to really understand that. But being able to have that aerial view of like watching a plant do this process really helped me understand a bit more. It really helped the idea sit with me a bit more. Because when you think about it, I feel like plants are cognizant to a level, but they don't really know to themselves. They're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so stressed. I need to grow this tomato in my plant system. I need to grow these okra, this kale. They just go through the process, and if certain criteria are met, they're gonna grow fruit. And I feel like the same kind of things apply to ourselves, right? So I want to kind of think a bit more of specifically what that process would look like for me, and like maybe like some of the goals that I want to reach, and kind of think about it and have a better understanding. That way, when I get up in arms about not advancing how I want to advance, I have something that I can look back on and I can say like, hey, am I doing these things? Then okay, that means the process will work out. It'll move forward and I can get to a certain end goal. So I hope you would do that as well. I want you to try it as well. As I'm kind of spitballing these things, I want you to think about it for yourself as well. So I think let's think about the steps, right? You plant the seed. Like, what does planting the seed mean? I feel like planting the seed is having that idea, right? Or having that desire and letting it be there. Not just letting the outside world make you think like, oh, it's not right, or maybe I shouldn't be pursuing this. Taking that natural desire and that natural infatuation with a thing or wanting to achieve something and pushing it forth, right? And then when we think about, well, also I think environmentally, right? How do we get ideas? How do we get these seeds planted in our head? By consuming our environment and by observing our environment. So that's another way of like planting that seed, putting yourself in spaces to consume these things. And then let's think about nourishing and watering our seed. What does that look like? I think for me, I think it's like developing skill sets to move me forward, developing my mind, consuming better foods, right? So I can operate, I don't want to say at a more efficient capacity, because I'm so tired of this machinification of the human, right? Everything has to be productive. You have to be these computers. So I want to be wary of being like optimization, right? But at the same time, to be able to move in your best self. So feeding yourself those things, media, food wise, people around you, right? And speaking of people around you, also your environment. I think environment is a part of nourishing that seed. Something that I was experiencing like as I was gardening, I planted way too many things in a small container, and I don't think they were growing as or flourishing as much as they could have been. And as soon as I moved things over into a better environment, a larger container, or one of the larger container, it started flourishing more. Or like when I changed up its environment by adding those nutrients, it started flourishing more. So the same thing I think can apply to ourselves, right? How we think about our environment, putting ourselves in better environments so our seed can grow more, right? Environment is many things, right? Our life, where we live, I think there's only so much sometimes we can change with our lived in environment, besides of like where we can afford to live, where we are, I think there's only so much we can do to change it immediately. I think over time you can change that, but when you need like more or quicker things and quicker growth, so there's so much that you can do. But you can change other things, right? You can change the people around you. If the people around you aren't nourishing your environment in that way, don't keep it around you. Like, we're luckier than plants, because if something is not suiting our environment, we can get up and leave. Some plants actually can, I think, push themselves out of the environment and go elsewhere, but a lot of them can't. They can't just uproot themselves and go somewhere else. But we have the ability to do that. So that's a part of nourishing your environment. And then letting time do its thing. Oh, that's the big thing. That's the hard thing. That's the hard thing of just sitting back and doing your steps and letting time take place. It's hard because we're in the thick of it. We perceive time so much differently, like when we're in the thick of things, and it's hard to just be able to just sit back sometimes and trust in that process. So sometimes you have to sit back and let time do its thing. And that's been the biggest lesson, I think, for me with this gardening thing, is watching time do its thing. Literally, I planted those seeds. I started this process way back. That made me think of something else. I started this process way back. And I started with actually seedlings inside, and that really didn't work out for me as well. So I tried again. Ding, ding, ding. If at first you don't succeed, get yourself up and try again, right? At first, I started seedlings, and it looked like they were doing okay at first. But by the time it was time to transplant, it was not working out well for me. And some of my seedlings were able to transplant, but majority of everything else, I had to start from scratch. And still, within all this time, I started from scratch, even though I felt like I lost time, right? Because I started those seedlings some months ago, and then months came by, another month came by, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I've lost all this time for my garden. And really, I didn't. I was like, okay, there's nothing else I can do but plant again and see what will happen. And I planted again, and I'm bearing veggies and I'm bearing fruits. So I think that was another thing, that I thought about as I was speaking. But let time do its thing. And then when it's all said and done, you can harvest and reap the fruits, the delicious, tasty nectar of the fruit of your labor. Oh man, I'm happy that I started gardening. I don't know how much I'll do gardening in the future. I feel like I'm not in the space to be in my like hardcore gardening zone, but I feel like every season I will try to like garden a few vegetables and plants, because I don't know, it was something nice to do. Even if it wasn't cost efficient, it was a good thing to do. And out eating the food, or like eating the fruit of what you've grown in itself, literally. So I'm talking about gardening, right? Not life now. Just that in itself was just so nourishing to my spirit, right? It was just very nourishing to me. Like, the first thing that did well was my strawberries. When I ate those strawberries, I feel like US strawberries are not as good as like strawberries in some places. But that's a different story for a different day. Even still, even though it was sour, some of them were sour, it was still sweet. So it was still sweet, And my peppers are growing and my tomatoes are growing. I can't wait to eat those. And that has nourished me in this tumultuous times when your spirit really needs nourishing, because environment that we can't change is happening so rapidly. That has been something that nourished me a lot this summer. But yeah, I just wanted to come and talk about that and chat about that and talk through that for myself. And I feel like other people probably experience similar things. So I want to talk with you all and talk with you and see and share that, and maybe other people can be processing that as well. But yeah, that's it for my yapping. Bye.